Hello everyone, this is my second video on YouTube. In my previous video, I talked briefly about how I studied to get 180 out of 180 on my JLPT and 1 test. If you haven't checked that video out, I strongly recommend doing so. In this video, I will talk more about time management. Some people even say that for JLPT, time management / test taking skills are more important than your actual Japanese knowledge, especially for the reading section. This is not how we want a test to be, but unfortunately, it's an issue we'll just have to deal with. If you are not already aware, time is really limited during the test. Let's say most tests at your school will give you a lot more time than you need. For people who are having trouble with the test material, they have time to think about it. JLPT is clearly not like that. You will run out of time even when you are well paced during the test. Other than being able to recall things quickly, you will also have to do things smartly for JLPT. Here are a few tips I want to share. JLPT N1 is completed in 2 sessions with a total of 3 sections, the language knowledge section, the reading section, and the listening section. The language knowledge section and the reading section are completed in 1 sitting, and you will be given a total of 110 minutes. The reading section is where you want to save most of your time for. I recommend spending around 35 minutes for the language knowledge section, and then the rest 75 minutes on the reading section. I have never taken JLPT N2 before, but I believe you should also be spending 70 minutes out of the given 105 minutes on your reading section. Within the language knowledge section, you will see vocabulary questions followed by grammar questions. Consider spending 15 minutes on vocabulary and 20 minutes on grammar. More ideally, you can time your speed for every single question type, also called the test items. For more information about each test item, please check out my last video and my future videos. Here is an example of how you can allot your time, and you can always make some changes according to how comfortable you are with each question type. I believe as long as you can complete each larger section within the recommended time, you don't have to worry too much about these individual question types. Tip 2. Familiarize yourself with the test format. Don't spend time reading instructions and sample questions. The question types, and the order they come in, are fixed, so there's no reason to be surprised by the test format on your test day. On the actual test paper, you will be given instructions on how to answer each question type, as well as a sample question. You should never read these. The listening section is where the format can really trick you if you don't know it well. The first few questions are going to provide you with choices in text, whereas the next few are going to make you also listen for the choices. When the audio is playing the instruction and the sample questions, you should be reading your given choices and circling out keywords. For the next few questions where you are not given choices ahead, you should be drawing out T-charts where you can then jot down the question and the choices in an organized manner. When you do a practice test, pay attention to how long you are given in between each question. Please also take a look at the bubble sheet and do a timed mock test with one of those, so you don't accidentally fill out your answers wrong. Tip 3. Alter the order you do questions in. This only applies to the reading comprehension section. You will see short, mid-length and long reading passages, as well as comparison questions and information retrieval questions. Information retrieval, the very last question type on the test, is always going to be the easiest. You will be asked to retrieve simple information such as dates and time, usually from posters and brochures. You should always do this question first in case you run out of time at the end, and you don't want to lose some easy marks. For the rest of the reading questions, there are different versions of what order you should do them in, and I believe it works differently for different people. Most commonly, and what makes the most sense to me personally, is doing the short passages first, and the long passages last, because the difficulty and the time needed increases gradually. Compare these with walking, jogging, running, and sprinting. Some people leave the mid-length ones to the last instead because they believe these are the most difficult ones. You can try out different orders and see what works best for you. Tip 4. You can cut time for some of the questions. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you should do the first section fairly quickly. Let's take question type 1, kanji reading, and question type 2, contextually defined expressions, for example. Question 2 asks you to fill out the blank based on the context, so you must read the sentence to answer this question. However, question 1 asks you the pronunciation for the underlined kanji, and I think most people don't need context for pronunciation, so for this question, you should not be reading the full sentence, unless you have to. In addition, for all sections, you should be able to quickly realize some sentence endings you see or hear are just longer ways to say something else. For example, something like the reason of A is thought to be B basically means the reason of A is B. That's all 4 tips for this video. The best way to practice these is to do mock tests regularly while timing yourself. Following these tips guarantees you to have a huge advantage over people who walk into the test room without knowing about the time issue. Please let me know if this video was helpful, or if you have any other questions.